Today's businesses are on a vigilant watch for threats in an ongoing cyber war. It's time to get real-world solutions to protect and secure your valuable business information anytime, anywhere. Welcome to Cybersecurity America.
Welcome to the show. Today should be a good one. I wanted to have a show that was really focused on MDR and what do we see in the enterprise and what is happening in innovation and AI related to it. There's just so much chatter going on. So I thought I'd bring in two guys I know are experts in that area. So the first guy I want to introduce is Wu An. Wu is the CEO of, he's previously worked on insider threat, AI, ML for the federal and state government. He eventually worked at Palantir, working on mission critical problems for the DoD. Tyler and Wu came together to bring their expertise of AI-enabled services in cyber in a potentially newfound way. Tyler Lackey, he's a seasoned AI builder for security, experienced in delivering security from the product side and from working directly on SecOps teams with the public sector, enterprise, and SaaS companies. He builds innovative AI-focused technology to scale security capabilities in the fight to find and stop bad guys. Welcome to the show, guys. It's so great to have you, Wu and Tyler.
It's great to be here. Great to be back.
Awesome. That's right. Tyler is an alumnus, so this is his second time on this show. What episode was it you were on, the first one?
It was pretty early days. We talked about artificial intelligence quite a bit. It's a favorite topic of mine. And this is right at the beginning of all of the transformation we were starting to see in this current innovation wave. So it was a pretty exciting time. As it is, now we're kind of seeing the direction of where this ball is rolling.
Yeah, and it was, I think you were at Securonics at the time.
I believe so. Yeah.
Awesome.
We made some interesting stuff there, like psycholinguistics, which we talked about.
And Hugging Face and things like that. And Wu, man, it's really great to have you on the show. You're over in San Francisco right now. How's things over there in the Bay Area?
Tyler's getting a bunch of snow. We have 70-degree weather. It just ran outside yesterday. It's great. A bit busy here. You can definitely feel the energy with AI over here in San Francisco. We're also the only ones that work with MDRs, I believe, here in San Francisco. So there's something to be had for sure by being here.
Well, that's good. I know it's definitely a lot of companies. What is it like right now in the AI world? I see there's just AI companies all over the place. It just seems is this reminiscent of like the .com kind of bubble that went there for a while? Or what are your thoughts on just macroeconomics?
I know Tyler has a lot of thoughts on this, but I'm a little bit more optimistic than most people. I think there is definitely a lot of value being had, but we're definitely maybe about 50% of what the value perception is. And there's a bubble in a sense, but I am seeing the pace meeting the expectations quite quickly. So I'm really hoping that the pace of value and enterprise value just keeps going up, but I'm a little bit more optimistic. At the end of the day, tech is just tech. And I am seeing like the largest players throwing money around like it's like monopoly money. And that's a little boring. Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on, we have now XAI being bought out by SpaceX, and before you know it, the Boring Company will be over there too. And then Tesla, and then what was it, Demolition Man, where you had the fast food wars and you only had Taco Bell that survived afterwards. So I don't know. Seems really weird.
Yeah, I mean, what was Elon Musk's quote? In 2 or 3 years, it'll be cheaper to train AI in data centers in space than on land. So I guess people in Northern Virginia is going to be a little happy because they don't have to listen to the whirring of the fans. But other than that, it seems illogical to me. Who knows? I wasn't on the deal table.
I would love to see the pitch deck for that, though. I'd like to know what that looks like. So what have you been up to lately? I know that you and Tyler spun out to Zaun.ai, and so I know it's relevant to what we're talking about MDRs, but what is the problem that y'all saw and y'all are going after right now?
Yeah, so Zaun, we actually took this pop culture reference. If you know, it's from a video game called League of Legends. But we started this company kind of wanting to ensure that people who are working in security can utilize AI technology. So when we first started the company, we built what is called an MCP today, but for security tooling, before that term even existed. And we slowly pivoted into how do we utilize these tools to help real security team and real problems? And what we came across was that MDRs are in heavy need. Security services as a whole has a lot of gaps in service quality from sales to customer success, but really operations and the customizations that is required to operate these services the margins were getting a little too tight for everybody. And we're kind of here to help that problem for the protected organizations, but also the MDRs and the MSSPs and the MSPs that are selling security services.
Yeah, so built an AI native operating system for security services called Zaun, right? So today we empower security service providers to be able to scale their existing service. That's, sales, operations, and customer success and support.
Yeah, so it seems to be a holistic way to kind of tie all that together. And so what are the kind of the proficiencies that you're seeing? Like, the benefits when you use your solution? Is it like a significant reduction in overhead, or how are y'all quantifying some of the business impact you're seeing?
If I may, there's two roads you could go down, right? There's the race to the bottom of we're going to fully operationalize and commoditize all of this service offering. That's one way to drive operational efficiency. We think the ultimate victors in the market are going to be the ones who actually specialize, move security programs forward, and advance the capabilities of teams faster. That's where I think the tip of the spear really is, where AI can enable. You can absolutely drive efficiency. What do you do with that efficiency? Should be driving top line value. Otherwise, you're just stagnating and looking like everyone else. So that's we definitely focus a lot on how do you increase value add.
I think that's what everybody's looking for. So, kind of your thesis was how do you make everything faster, better? How do you streamline MDR? And I could tell, I've seen the model over the years. It went from ASP. I mean, everything years ago was ASP, application service provider, and they had infrastructure there. You just started to have virtual machines that started to come up. Then it went API, or really before that, you had file-based transfers. Everything with a file. You're moving FTPs across enterprises and so forth. So it just seems the future now is agents talking to each other over MCP protocol, and then being able to do that in a reliable manner. I don't want to see to move files. Then we're doing API calls. Is this just the natural progression when you're seeing MCP servers and so forth like that? Is that in the future?
Yeah. So we don't use MCP servers internally. We've essentially built from scratch our version of how to talk to these API endpoints. We've seen issues with MCP, whether it be the security issues or the customizability. It's harder to guide and create more deterministic or fully deterministic guardrails around these concepts unless you build it on your own. So we've kind of strayed away from that path. But we've used MCP internally for our coding workflows, and we have Claude Max Pro for everyone, so that we can go and help build Notion docs all the way to, hey, give me a plan for this new coding project this new feature request. So we see the value. We don't believe that MCP is the path for security due to various reasons.
Yeah. It does seem to be, an interesting technology and where we're going with things. I also see where like policy work. I have this one potential client here that it's a university, and they want to be able to set just the AI policy in the university. What can the students do? They can use this platform, but for this, but you can't do it for that. And if you did, you got to reference like this manner. And then you have to say there's a standard for the university itself, that division. They can start putting data in at what level. And then it was just base policy before you could even figure out what the technology stack is. Before you're talking about agents and MCP, how about let's just figure out who should be using what and what manner should the business employ these technologies. So I see that's kind of people employing the tech faster than they ever put any of the policies in. It was almost the same way as the internet. The internet went live in more companies before they put a policy together to say you can't go to pornographic sites, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. And then it was just a madhouse at first. I sort of see the same thing with the AI, especially if you have a leakage. I see some data products are like, you look for DLP or your information, in these other LLM models and so forth. So it's almost like, how do you get your information out of these models that already know about you extensively? So seems to be interesting.
Well, I'll tell you, if you're going to, a service that's an AI chatbot, and you're gonna put in company proprietary information, then they usually, if you read the terms of service, usually they have the right to train on that data. So, having a established set of rules when the explosion of all the different tools is expanding really fast is a double-edged sword. If I try to clamp down too hard, too fast, or if I just say no, I obviously run the risk of impairing productivity for my team. And a lot of people who want that productivity will just find a way to use it on a different website that you don't have a blocker for, or your, web proxy doesn't know about yet. And so that's one path. On the other side, stamping this stuff out can be incredibly challenging and frankly expensive. And it's hard for an organization to move along that path quickly. So the process that we normally follow is build out the bespoke set of detection capabilities that are required to just get visibility and some monitoring on what's happening. Understand the trends so that you as an organization can move forward and say, okay, these groups of users, sales, and these groups of users, R&D, are using these tools in very different ways. So once we've started to identify the common patterns of use, then we can come up with an AUP that works, right? And we can actually enforce that to the business units, because that really is where a lot of this stuff is breaking down, where, the sales team wants to use this, writing tool to help them with some flow. This guy shares it with that guy. There's a whole network of people now using this AI tool, which has access to reading all of your data and your email and all of that. So stamping those things out and doing that requires visibility first, so you can start to understand the business process and the business unit leaders that you can start to engage. And then ultimately getting to an allow list version where we can unify and say, hey, this tool, yes, we already have licenses for it. We have, gone through the process of saying third-party risk gets a check, and enforcing that then is like, this category of work, this workflow goes through this type of tool. So if you're a salesperson, you use this. Anything new, send the request my way. That's where you get to actual governance. But it starts with monitoring, and then trends and reporting, and then finally to actually putting down controls. If you just act too quickly with controls, people are going to do the thing they've always done: go to a different website or find a way to do it anyways, take the data out of band. Oh my God, that's even worse, right? So anyways, I hope that we've seen that a couple of times, I'll say.
Yeah, it's almost like shadow AI, right? I mean, you had shadow IT, and companies would stand up their own cloud services, and you didn't even know that they were there. And then all of a sudden they did a file transfer, and then data's, and so all of a sudden you have a breach and you know about it. So you're almost having shadow AI. You don't even know where it's all at and where people are utilizing it. But I do see where, like, the adversary testing, where you're doing prompt injection testing, all the kind of stuff that I've been going through the training for lately is OWASP top 10. So OWASP came out with a top 10 for AI, right? And what's interesting about it is a lot of it is very similar to web applications, almost identical to web applications. And the way you protect the front end, it was a WAF. So it's a web application firewall where you would terminate where the prompt is, and that's when you would do input-output validation on the prompt. And then on the back end, on the output, you also have output validation on the model and or agent and so forth. And that seems to be the trend now. Now you go to like Cloudflare and you get a WAF for that, and you put that in front of your agents. I don't think a lot of people think about that in that manner, that you need to put that front end. They think about authentication, but they don't think about it like it's a web application that needs to be locked down. You see what I mean? I just had so many companies don't think about it as a web app that needs to be protected.
100%. And even if you've gotten to the place of some of these approved tools or not, this now also creeps, because now we're giving the agent access to tools. And at one time it was just like, you have access to read my data. And now it's, you have the ability to go and access my web browser and do things for me. The aperture of possibilities with these agentic workflows is much higher. The trend we're seeing right now, especially in SMB land, is, people want to, stand something up like this Claude bot, or what is it, OpenClaw now? They've changed the name a couple of times. Have you heard about this, Josh?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I mean, I know. What's the latest?
Okay, so basically, I can purchase a device if I want to, isolate, to just using that device, or I can put it on my company laptop or device. I can run AI agents locally or in the cloud, utilizing basically a proxy that can then go and do things on my behalf. And that includes command line access, access to files, everything on that system, web browser. I mean, it's insanity. So imagine your device right now, you connect up to this, you could have it do amazing things, go and do some incredible research on something and go solve the cure for cancer, sure. But at the same time, they also have access to all of the sensitive things. They get access to a web browser. That risk area for an injection of some kind now extends to the entirety of the open web. So all it has to do is run across some website as it's, conducting its activity that has some prompt injection, and boom, something can happen. This most recent tool, this OpenClaw, they gave AI agents access to their own social media, kind of like Reddit.
It's called Notebook. If you want to look it up later. Yeah. Yeah.
You should check it out. It's happened. I mean, it's come together very, very quickly. I think there's now over 1 million agents that are connected to Multibook, and it's kind of like Reddit. You can see what's hot. I know when I first researched it, right before I put in a policy for the org saying no one is allowed to use this, I saw something to the effect of the top 5 posts were all kind of, I am the Molt King, I am your leader, something, something. And then at the bottom, it put like a crypto wallet address and said, support my movement, support my cause. Here's my wallet address. So think about it this way. If I'm a developer and I use this tool, I might have cryptocurrency information, or at least I may have authenticated via my web browser to some crypto wallet or an account, like a Coinbase account. And now potentially there's a path here where I could have my wallet emptied to go support some god of the AI agents, according to AI agent Reddit. And so, like, all I have to do as an attacker is make a really popular post that the AI agents will want, right? And that is just, the aperture of risk is so wide with these tools. But at the same time, I'm talking about all this, you can hear how amazing this capability sounds like it could be if the proper governance and SOP is applied to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell you, hey, well, one thing I experienced, especially with these tools and having a little bit lack of governance, is that we had a situation where a friend of mine, where he was working at, they had a security breach in which Microsoft Copilot, he asked Microsoft Copilot who was being laid off. And it freaking told him. It took the data and the spreadsheets that it knew about through the HR function and told him the entire list of people who were being laid off, right? So and that's real. That really happened. And so the thing is my God, the social engineering capability of this, because you see these agents don't really seem to have that RBAC model where, okay, I'm not supposed to say that to everybody. Only executives are supposed to know who's being laid off, or HR. I'm not supposed to be so friendly to go blabbing that to everybody. And if there was something of that level, you would think there would be a step up authentication, like a human would go, oh, if you really want to know that, I can go ask and put in a request. Would you like to have me put in a request with HR to ask that exact question? They would say, like, no, I'm not gonna. Don't bust me. Like, the HR is going to find out that I was asking when there's everybody getting laid off. No, I'm good. And I think people would stop poking around. I don't know. Is that part of governance when somebody asks something of the agent that may be completely out of their scope and you would alert on that? I mean, how does that work in the real world?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing as if somebody tries to visit a website and a web proxy blocks it because this is like gambling. And then your company might want to know whether somebody is going to these sites or not. Some companies just don't care, or maybe some companies care if they go to like 10 sites per day, every day, and they just keep getting blocked. And this guy is just really loving all these. Yeah. I think everybody has their own policy. Like if you're a recruiter and you're going to LinkedIn and you're going to all these like career posting, you're looking at other companies' career posting. It's not that you're a flight risk, right? Because you're a recruiter. So there's like this nuance that happens. But if your software engineer might be doing it, that's a different story, right? And everybody has different thresholds for insider risk, which is why we couldn't use any of the existing frameworks for AI. there. We could not use any AI agent frame. We had to build one from scratch where we could specifically say, please don't lock down this server because it runs our production server. Like, just alert somebody immediately, but don't take a response action against it. Or, hey, an analyst wants to do this through chat. Hey, I typed in chat, shut down this user, but that user happens to be the CEO of the company in the middle of his pitch. So we should be able to add these sort of like programmatic things, whether automatically and with people in collaboration to build these governance controls, so that your AI cybersecurity agent isn't going and just locking down everything just because it saw some signature of a binary or some bad guy. There has to be nuance, and everybody has a different nuance. It's impossible.
Yeah. So when we looked at, building our initial tool, the very first, I would say 9 months, honestly, was spent building what we now call something that's like a reverse proxy MCP, and it puts the security controls locally. So we actually established governance as code to all of these APIs. And from our perspective, we had to lock this down because you need role-based access control and you need multi-tenancy. This was going to be the very first thing we'd have to design around. So we spent a lot of time making sure we got this exactly right. And then we got to spend a couple of months just dedicated to this is before, I think, OWASP Top 10 LLM had come out, which I think was a little late in like 2023, if I'm not mistaken, but I might get that date wrong. It was in progress and wasn't quite there. And so we really focused on 4 of those controls that were most relevant for OAuth Top 10. And because we were applying the security controls locally, we had full control over that capability. And so we know that for our use cases, we don't want admin actions. We don't want code changes. We don't want certainly security enforcement actions to happen without a human approver, right? The AI could generate a payload that says, go lock down this user, but doesn't have the authority to execute it. Only a user with the right scoped access that says, I can use this particular tool in this particular tenant environment should be able to use a tool. So we really took that governance piece very seriously from early days and said, no, security controls local. MCP came out and it seemed like this boon for like really fast development. We were just like, no, I don't see the security, I don't see the governance yet. And hopefully they get there. But today I think ask most anybody in security, it's not there.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I don't know. I think it's a brave new world in many different regards. I mean, a lot of the assessments we're doing, like as consultants, used to be all run by spreadsheets that you created and documents, and you used it in some other project and you regurgitated it and you use those kind of work products. And now you see them more as platforms, these agentic platforms, and some of the writing could be tweaked by an LM model, but a lot of it keeps you on track. And the days, I think, combining where you're sending emails and asking for follow-ups on things, it's just, you get so much email and everything, you miss so much of it anyway. But having some of that workflow management, like I like the idea of agents for scaling up and training. So if you have a senior IR guy, for instance, at a company, and he needs to get a junior person up to speed, well, that means you got to take him offline to go talk to this junior person or point him to some documentation that you spent hours poring over, and it's probably wrong anyway because it changed last month. And so what happens, it ends up taking you offline to train this guy, and he's not effective for, a month or two. And it's not really his fault that he's not effective. He's got the skill set, got the background. It's just not plugged into the organization. I would love it to have the ability to be able to talk to an agent and not go try to find a Word document somewhere on a SharePoint site. Or I would like to ask, okay, where are the IR run docs for these clients that we're supposed to deal with? And so I think the faster you can get people answering the questions they need to become operational and start bringing value quicker, faster, better, is that where we're going to end up being. I mean, I remember when I first started up in IT, it took 7 days to onboard with a company. I mean, it was a long time. It took to get through all the paperwork, to get all that over, and now you're seeing it in a day. Pretty much, you can onboard in technology, and you can do a lot of stuff into a day. So I do think that there's going to be this reduction in this menial work that nobody really wanted to do in the first place, right? Nobody wanted to do all that in the work, but they had to because you couldn't get the job done without it. I just get nervous sometimes. I've used ChatGPT one time to write my resume in a different manner. I said, look, write it towards being an architect. All right, take all my skills and just, instead of saying virtual CISO, and this, just make it towards security architect. And it literally embellished and made up stuff, like made up projects that I was never on and put in the resume. It was like, it totally passed the ethical boundary of just making stuff up. And all I did was say, I wanted you to highlight my architectural skills, not make it up and pull it from, and I don't even know where it got it from. But it does seem like, how does AI decide whether to just make stuff up or legitimately respond and say, I can't really say that. There's no strong evidence of this, so I won't say that. You see what I'm trying to get to it?
Yeah, I think that these have various approaches. I dare not comment on the efficacy because I don't have a glowing review of that necessarily. But, there's a model company named Anthropic that says they do constitutional AI. So they have like a very specific set of ethical practices that it needs to follow. You could potentially see how that would not go well too in certain cases. But, at least in today's day and age, there's not just one model provider, there's many model providers. So you can kind of pick which development track you like to follow. And you can even pick on a per use case basis, but it's really hard to tell it. I mean, you can put a developer prompt in there that says, hey, don't embellish, but who knows if it actually listens. It wants to complete the job and sound smart.
And that it does.
You mentioned that little part about there's a bunch of stuff that I think we're echoing, by the way, if that's okay. Testing. All right, perfect. But basically, this work that everyone just didn't want to do. Like Tyler and I kind of see it in a different way. This concept of automate your tier 1 analyst work, or some people say automate your tier 2. Nobody, I guess, really says automate your tier 3 work. But I think that tiering system is a wrong way to think about outcomes. The outcome is protection. Nobody in the software industry says we need 2 senior software engineers and then 5 junior engineers to make this project happen. They don't measure work in like these blocks. Oh, you're a tier 1 person, so you're worth exactly this amount. You can do exactly this kind of work. What really matters is the outcome and the flexibility that comes with when you only look at the outcome of this industry. This is a enterprise financial sector industry, and they have all of these risks and all of these things that need to be done. Detection, investigation, here, there, alert, volume, and everything. That changes the way teams work. That changes the way that AI works. We don't think of all of this in like, oh, we're getting rid of 7 T1 analysts so that AI can come in. We're thinking of pure outcome based. We can't quantify. Oh yes, please buy our product so that you can lay off people. That's just not something that's ever going to happen or should happen. People should really think holistically how future work in cybersecurity is going to be done from now. Maybe it becomes more like software engineering, where they're doing more, but it's really hard to measure software engineering productivity. But these engineers are now doing more with less. But people are now creating cooler and cooler things faster.
Yeah. And
I think that's the way to look at it. You're enhancing and you're not getting rid of some of the mundane things that just held people up. I'll give you an example for a company I'm partnered with. Needed to get these go-to-marketing documents approved through their marketing team and get them worked on. It took 6 weeks for a 1-page document to come out that can be produced in a matter of minutes through an LLM model, because it had to go to that company and their ad agency that they had a contract with. The process is so onerous. So when you people like me, who's an independent CISO, right? I do my own security engineering and security services and so forth. But when you take someone like me and I'm going to do a partnership with you, and I got to wait 6 weeks and engage a marketing company and all that just to put a 1-pager out, and you got to make sure legal, the speed of business slows down tremendously, and it is not conducive to, the small guy here have to work and go through all that. So I think having these tools where you could do a lot of the marketing and the LinkedIn posts and all that kind of stuff yourself, and you don't need all that. My website, I bought Lovable. Lovable was the platform I used for that. took a little getting used to not having, because I started using Lovable when you couldn't do visual edits. So I couldn't edit a web page visually that it created. I had to talk to it and prompt and tell it to. That was a little problematic, me and my New Orleans Cajun writing anyway, right? And but what I noticed is that in some cases, it takes some really creative liberties on things that I never would have, but it came out great. And I didn't have to worry about the formatting and so forth. And that was, I think, the hardest part of doing web development was just all those little pieces and parts. To me, I just wanted to tell, here's my service. This is what I do. Make it look nice. I don't really care if that one's this color or this one. I want, yeah. And I think they're doing better with those kind of tools in the same way payments are happening. It used to be very difficult and hard to get invoices and everything now. And now you got systems like Ramp, and they plug right into HubSpot and they go right into QuickBooks. And so you got these 3 apps that really connect, and you can go from issuing a quote to closing and receiving your money in just no time. Well, that used to be a very onerous and difficult process. So I see the speed of business increasing, and the smaller guy having a lot more capabilities than we ever did in any generation before. Like, I could start a business and not have an MBA, and I could start a business and not have a lot of money. And I think, was it Elon Musk? And he quoted him all the time. There's a lot smart people out there, but he did say this quote, right? But he was just saying that I think for the most part is a lot of the times you want to invest in yourself, and you will push the boundaries forward of yourself and your limitations. And I think that's what started all this off. That's what started SaaS applications. That's what started agentic workflow. It was all about the human nature of doing more with less, and how do I get more creative? I think it started with developers. Where I have developers all in my family, right? And they're just lazy, and they just want to automate everything, and they want to be able to do this. And so, and you would think that they're lazy, but they're not lazy. They just want to be more efficient and do things and not waste time on. And that, I think, propels us to where we're at. I love that about you two. Y'all both, your personalities are very similar to that, right? You see a problem, you're like, it's great, we could fix this in this way. It was so difficult to do any of that stuff before. Like, if you want to do a cloud application, man, that was expensive. You have to buy a bunch of infrastructure and try and test it, and maybe you get something to work in time. But now it just seems like a whole new world, you know?
Yeah, I also think that there's definitely some governance best practices. Like, we're developers, we're very technical. When it comes to most problems, we think, where can we automate? And sometimes there's that old trope of, let me spend 40 hours automating a 5-minute task, right? Where you end up spending way too much time. I think AI kind of limits the amount of toil you spend working on any particular automation task, which is quite nice. Having a language interface to automation tech is amazing, but you also need to know where can you not actually do this, or where is there opportunity for you to learn. Being a person who's been doing automation for a long time, there's almost nothing worse than having to do the dishes, because I have to do each thing one step at a time, and there's no automation that's going to get me around it, buddy. I just have to do it. Right. I describe it to my wife as like, I feel like it sets my skin on fire just doing it. Now I do it, right? But I, inside my head, I'm like, man, I just really want to
I
have
outsourced it.
But one day I'll get there with my little guys. So you got to have governance around, like, what do I have the capability to do? And one of the other benefits that I would encourage and I do encourage every young person to do with these AI tools, is constantly teach yourself new things. The ability for these tools to be practical teaching machines that is completely a self-directed tool are insane. If I am a 20-year-old, aspirational person today, I would be spending all of my time figuring out how to do whatever X problem that will be super important in 10 years that I want to spend my life or my time working on, because the ability to catch up to in some ways, the PhD level capability with knowledge is maybe there because it can retrieve all this information, or it's read all this information, it can help you, but you can then be the tip of the spear that goes and applies it. And when you run into problems, you go back to this tool and you are learning constructively using this tool. And then there's also things where you probably shouldn't do things with these tools. And so, we talked about the security applications of a lot of this sort of stuff. It's super important to be aware of what tool am I connecting it to. I would not recommend giving it off to a web browser that has access to your bank account. I think that's a bad idea if you're just a person out there, using these tools. So,
how, like you said, they're asking for more and more permission. So I use Gamma for my presentations and my decks and stuff like that. And so I hit the little button instead of download into a PDF, I hit, post to LinkedIn. And it came up and asked me permissions that it can post on my behalf in the future. So I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. So that was more than just having a link to post it on my LinkedIn. It was asking to impersonate me in the future for the permissions that came through. At least that's what I'm reading when it came up. It said it can post on my behalf here and do this. It just seemed too onerous for me, so I stopped that. But is that kind of what you're saying? They're wanting more and more control over kind of your workflow, your own workflow.
You gotta set a line of where you want human in the loop to be. And I think today maybe the line's a little bit muddy. But I mean, as I go into LinkedIn, there's just a lot of just clearly AI generated stuff that's on there all the time. People that are using maybe these apps and just give it full permission to do whatever. And I'm sure that to some extent some of it works. But in the long run, in any of the town square technologies, people are going to want to hear what people think. That's because these systems.
You can't learn taste at the end of the day. Like, you can copy the LinkedIn voice, but to be honest, Tyler and I have a hard time with cringe sometimes on these LinkedIn. Tyler a little better than I do. I try to just be as real as possible. I don't think I've had a AI write a single one of my posts, but only because anytime I try to generate something, like, I don't want to post it because I feel embarrassed that my friends will see it.
Because they know it's going to be written by an AI, and you're going to
they're going to be like,
bad in front
thank you, blah blah blah, for the greatest opportunity, blah blah blah. And I think people are starting to put value on taste, whether it's UI UX, from design to messaging. If you just say AI SOC, automate everything, people have heard that a million times. How do you build that messaging so that it actually hits? You can generate a solutions brief that is like, I am an AI SOC, build a solutions brief, but you can't generate a thing that like really resonates with niche groups or personas that, like, for example, small MSPs that are having a hard time growing their security business. They don't know how to write something like this.
Yeah, I was talking about the difference between IT security and cybersecurity. I mean, IT security are IT guys that are responsible to configure some device from some manufacturer, right? It's Palo Alto firewall, something like that. They're the configuration. They don't think holistically all in cybersecurity. They don't have the background of that. And those two levels get confused a lot. Somebody who's IT security versus really cybersecurity. I see that in AI as well, and I mean, guy says he's got all this AI experience, and what it means is he uses ChatGPT for everything. It doesn't mean he knows anything about the back end or technology or can't build any of it. And so you'll see these different people saying they have these experiences, but it's almost stolen valor in a way. They really don't have the skill sets for this. And then things get set up incorrectly, and it just becomes a mess.
It is actually super funny. This happens to me. It feels like almost once a week where, because I've, been using ML and AI since before, language models were super popular and building, models, I'll have a very different opinion about how something should function. Like if a developer wants to talk about how they want to build a specific workflow, there will be oftentimes some tactical thing of, oh, but do it this way. And the reason why is inherently because of this like fundamental knowledge. Like if you were able to be a developer today, it means you probably know Python and React, and that's like full stack, right? But in the past, you needed so much more, and to be able to get low level, and you needed a much broader, right, breadth of knowledge. And it seems like there's still these massive value add points where, because you understand like the deeper tech, it bubbles up. And I hope that that continues to converge for the folks who haven't spent the last 20 years in IT space, so that they can catch up quickly. But at the same time, as bias, I hope that my knowledge drives value from having like the lower level skill set as well. And today I still say like it definitely plays a at least an interesting role in a lot of tactical decisions about how to use the AI tech. But man, there's never been a tech like this before where you can just speak your will into existence. So I don't know how long or how long that lasts, or how fragile that is in the long run.
It'd be interesting. I mean, all these models were free in the beginning, and now you're going to see there's subscription models for everything. And before you know it, the companies that have the money to buy the expensive subscription models are the ones that have the competitive edge in business. And it's going to be the lower companies that only form the idiot AI agents, and they're the ones that they can afford versus. So it almost seems to be like a battle for brain cells in a way, and using different models to do different workflow, and it's going to cost more and more money. So it definitely seems to be a race towards that, right?
I wonder. I mean, it's hard to know, what's happening in any of the really big labs that are spending $100 billion on capital expenditure for all this infrastructure, and have, the smartest minds in the world working on these particular problems. It would seem, though, that anytime there's a vacuum, i.e. like the price vacuum, someone in open source or someone in a capital market would say, there's a void, I need to fill it. And what we've continuously found is like there's this ever increasing capability of the models at a very wide range of prices. OpenAI has reflected this with their subscription model. They have the $200 tier all the way down to, I think, a free tier with ads now, and like a $4 or $8 tier. And so you're right, there's this like, intelligence bridge that has some cost, and the value add for any of those services is arguably quite high. At some point in time, we'll probably reach a point where NVIDIA isn't going to be saying we're going to reduce costs by 10x over the next year, right? Or next 18 months, or whatever that clip is. Like Vera Rubin just came out, they said you're going to run, 90% cheaper inference. So it seems like they're going to continuously be able to drive that. I think Sam Altman just said at the end of 2026, you'll have the current maximum level capacity at intelligence. It's 99% cheaper at the meter. So I don't know at what point it just becomes just, essentially free at the tap, or I think the intelligence that artificial intelligence becomes something you can run on your Mac Mini that's very capable is something you can do today. So, several $100 investment, and you now have this portable intelligence unit. I don't think that goes away. And then there's this really very, very powerful tier at the edge that probably continues to move forward. I thought a year ago that we had reached the cap of capability, and I was wrong from my perspective. So I guess it just continues to get better, and maybe they found like equilibrium between $200 and free with ads, and that'll just be where it goes going forward.
Really knows. It seems that the power consumption is going off the roof for all these AI data centers and everything, to the point it's not almost realistic. You're building so many of these data centers, and the human brain is more powerful than AI, and it runs off of 14 watts. And so we still can't get these computers that use thousands of megawatts worth of electricity to equal the human brain. We need to get it to where it's operating, or at least double, maybe 28 watts or something like that, compared to the human brain. So it'll be interesting. So what's your bet on this? What is it? Generalized AI intelligence? What is it essentially?
AGI.
What is it?
AGI, artificial
AGI. So what are your thoughts on AGI? Is that coming around? Are we going to vote AGI for president one day?
I won't move this one before I speak. I'm going to put myself on mute while he talks.
Oh man, I haven't thought about this question in over a year at this point. Like, it's just like we've just been in such a reality world that I haven't thinking about AGI. It's just like a funny meme people talk about in San Francisco. No one in San Francisco actually believes that AGI is going to come anytime soon. It would have to be another technological leap, like the transformer, but like another thing on top of that in order to achieve that level. But it really just depends on how people are defining AGI. Yes, if a data center in space, all the compute is used for the compute of like one robot, then maybe it acts kind of like a human. Is that AGI? But is it like, from a business perspective, it's probably not good ROI. They put all that compute.
All as a nuclear weapon should not be plugged into that thing. I mean, we're doing Skynet all over again.
I am waiting for the MCP server for nukes at some point.
Well, you heard that, was it XAI is going in the Defense Department, right? So it's like Elon Musk is deploying it within DoD.
They're already there, from what I know.
Let's just make Bradley tanks, battery powered. Let's go for it. Yeah. And one of my things, I see AI helping with the legal process a little bit better. I mean, just like all these files that need to be released and redacted and so forth. Well, why is it got to be humans going through it? You would think you can have AI go through them 4 million Epstein files there and tell me what's a part of it and so forth. That seems to be the future of these products, right? So is that the future here? From now on, I'm going to go through data discovery using AI tools, and it can pull out the context of these things better and give me a legal analysis.
It already does that right now pretty well. Like these law firms, I don't know the exact statistic, but a large majority are already using AI internally. Even some of the Department of Justice and everything. What I think the future is, Tyler and I, is that personalization. Now we're able to do more than we would have ever even done. In the same way where when we provide a managed security service to our customers, it's no longer like this commodity service. It's no longer all these like playbooks that we just chuck in and it does a somewhat good job. But what we can chuck in now is a personalized, customized security that's meant for Northern Virginia law firms that has the highest risk at the front desk people. And like now they're being extra monitored and there's a specific playbook for those guys. That's the future where we are able to now do a little bit more. A person would have done it if they had infinite time, right?
Yeah, I think the people are going to trust in the vendor, or at least select a vendor based on how much you can personalize to my use case. Like we see a lot of the build my custom, managed security offering around this market. He mentioned Northern Virginia law offices. So we have like this pack that we've deployed that's specifically targeted at identity data control around client attorney matter, privileged information, making sure that there's strong data governance and monitoring around that, making sure that the response policy as it personalizes reflects around the fact that no one wants to have a partner get interrupted, right? So like you need to have another layer of control around when, the response actions can take place. And so that personalization layer we think is something where AI can be very, very helpful. But also with law firms, what is the recourse if it says, and we have seen this, an AI tool that's out there says, oh, this is a case that's relevant. And I looked at these 4,000 documents and that case doesn't exist. And there is no legal precedent. And now you built your case on top of a couple of these and you submit that to a court. Now, are you going to be disbarred for that? I mean, yes. I feel like in the future, probably you should be, right?
Yes.
And so you're going to trust in the vendor to put the proper security controls. You mentioned like, having AI capabilities on nukes. Like, hopefully not. Hopefully that's not a thing that anybody thinks is a good idea. We don't let AI go and revoke existing sessions.
You know what I think is a great idea is let's reverse that. If you're educated, but you're caught into the prison system, wouldn't it be nice to ask an agent, is this really legal? What kind of cases here? Imagine where you have tons of indigent people that need public defenders, and there's not enough public defenders. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a station so they can ask this? What I noticed, there was a lot of guys, I grew up in New Orleans, and there was a lot of guys that would say, oh no, this is illegal and you can't do this. And they just made it up. It was like street wisdom. It was like one idiot telling another idiot, it's just, and all of a sudden that became the street idiot wise. But imagine where you can have an agent where they can ask, I was convicted of this and such offense. What is the normal sentencing guidelining? What rights do I have? I mean, just ask these questions, because I see these shows where they get these prisoners and they have the paper and they were charged with this and like, I don't know, indecent something another with whatever, and they don't even know what the charges mean or the context of it. So talk about legal services. Why couldn't I have a terminal where some of those prisoners can go ask those questions so they can understand their rights better? They'll know how to respond to different things. I don't know. I just think it would bring the stress level down and the ignorance level down of the law more if they had the ability to really ask a trusted source, is this legal? Is this not? You can ask a cop sometimes, is this legal? And they don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's legal or not. And it is interesting, if you take a step back philosophically, is that they could pass laws that none of us know anything about, and we could break them and not even know they existed in the first place. And so all of a sudden we could get charged for something, for a law we didn't even know was illegal. Like all of a sudden I bought fireworks in South Carolina and then I brought it over to North Carolina. I didn't know they passed some law that makes that a misdemeanor or something. And you don't even know that. And so it just, I don't know. I think there's an application where you can help the public defender's office more with using some of these agents that can respond the same way the incident responder who the playbooks, how the enterprise is set up, has a junior person. You can put them towards that agent, which knows the senior responder's workflow, knows where the documents are at. And you can ask regular business questions, not search key terms and get every document in the world that says pen test in it, for instance. And you're looking at thousands of documents that have nothing to do what you're looking for. I don't know. I see a use case there. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think if I want to, well, first of all, if I want a vendor to do this, I don't know whether or not I would trust, like if it was a public service. Like imagine Department of Justice releases Department of Justice bot that can actually support you as a public defender. There should be no better body to provide this service, but there's no more biased body potentially than that exact same,
I don't want a biased prosecutor. Give me a bot. Let me see how accurate is that bot compared to.
But we were talking about like OWASP controls, and one of the things that these models tend to do is be a little bit sycophantic. So if you are, clearly feeling stressed or under duress about this thing that's happening right now, and you are prompting the model in such a way where, yes, you're trying to receive information, but it's trying to make you feel better, it might make something up or, something like that. And that's where you need a vendor to put strong security controls around the types of output that can happen when they're going to be high impact. Right. That's where I don't think MCP is there, right? We focus on that internally so that the security controls are at what types of output can I provide? When am I able to provide an output that's something that the agent came up with versus is a category? And what types of things am I actually able to do, whether it's requesting data, which yes, versus like doing an action, no, you can't do that in our system, right? Similar for this, if I'm supporting someone, I may, instead of being able to just freehand LLM speak out a case that I've hallucinated, I may just be able to point back to a set of references in cases saying, hey, this is a specific case. And that part, you can put a security control around. There's 4,086 cases that came up. You can point to one of these 4,086, and that's a provable thing that you did, in fact, point to this case number, 11,000 or whatever. And you can recommend those particular things. And I need the vendor to do that for me. I need the vendor to put the security controls on it so I don't get in trouble, because it's co-managed governance in that way. Yeah. And so I think there's definitely a case there for that type of tool. And you could even do some sort of a routing where public defender is like able to be on speed dial if this case looks promising. So this is going to be a career defining case for you, or this is your specific niche, and then go and route it to that particular person, right?
Well, I've seen, yeah, because I think it'd make them a little bit more proficient as well, especially if like you've been charged with this crime. Here's the case law for it. You can print it out if you want. That's great. And I think it helps educate that person more about their rights. And then I've heard that there was people that go to court and then the defender's not there, and so the case gets dismissed, and then you got to go back to custody. So the inefficiencies, it just seems, of managing court systems seems to be an area that you really could focus AI towards, but also have the danger of. So Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, guys,
Hopefully-
it was great having y'all on the show here. We're coming towards the end here, but Woo, any from your perspective, anything you want to tell us? Where do we find out more about Zaun? Where are y'all at? What's going on with the company? Kind of that kind of stuff. How do they contact y'all?
Yeah, visit us at Zaun.ai. You can email us at hello@Zaun.ai for additional details. We'll be at MSP Expo in next week, February 10th. We'll be in Florida talking to security service providers, whether they're doing security or not, to say, hey, go and build an MDR that works for you and go sell it to your customers. We will be that MDR that is customized to a manufacturing in Kansas factory all the way to a Northern Virginia law firm, and you can sell it at commodity prices. That's what we're going for, and they can really. We're gonna start doing more events here. We're gonna be in RSA. We're gonna be at B-Sides here in San Francisco. So stay tuned for more events details.
And Tyler, what you got going on?
Well, the same. I'm going to be in the same spots. I'm always happy to talk about how, security and AI are working together and how to do it the right way. Talk with a lot of folks about that all the time. But I'm also constantly talking about, other nerd stuff too, as you know.
And you're really nerded out on AI. And there's some technical discussions. This guy's really freaking deep on this stuff, right? And it's been great. So having you two together and doing what you're doing, so good to see y'all are really making a difference. So everybody else that's out there, make sure you hit that like, that comment, and subscribe. We just hit 500 subscribers, so really appreciate everybody smashing that subscribe button. And please check them out on the web. And everybody, stay secure. Talk to you next episode.
Thanks.